So my brothers and sisters, just again to remind you that we are still in Lent. This is just the very beginnings of our Lent. And as all of us are aware, one of the key pillars of Lent is prayer. This is besides the almsgiving and the fasting that we have to do during this special season. So during this season, as far as the theme of prayer or the pillar of prayer is concerned, we educate ourselves more about prayer and increase our practice of it. And in today's readings that we have, the first reading and the gospel, we are invited to reflect on this theme of prayer. As some of us might be aware, prayer can take so many different forms. There is a prayer of praise that celebrates God's greatness and character. There is a prayer of worship or adoration that celebrates God's majesty and power. There is a prayer of penance where we express sorrow for our individual and social sins and ask for God's forgiveness. There is also a prayer of thanksgiving where we express gratitude for God's blessings in our lives. There is also a prayer of lamentation. Those used to be very popular, but I think we live them just every day, where we express sorrow and grief and distress and call upon God's intervention in our lives. Today, in both our first reading and the gospel, we are introduced to petitionary prayer. Petitionary prayer. This is the kind of prayer that expresses our varied needs to God and also highlight our powerlessness and ask for God's help. In our first reading through the example of Queen Esther, we have an illustration of petitionary prayer. And in the gospel, Jesus encourages us to petition and let God know of our needs. In our first reading, just for purposes of context, the Jewish people were in exile in Persia, and Haman, the prime minister of the kingdom, picked a grudge with the Jewish people. He thought they were gaining too much influence and favor from the king. So out of ill will, Haman plotted their killing through trumped out charges. So he just wanted all of them just to get rid of them. And it is in this context of death hanging over the Jewish people that Queen Esther turns to God in a petition and expresses her powerlessness and the powerlessness of her people and asks for God's intervention. She petitioned God as we had in the first reading that we just listened to, and cried out saying that God of Abraham and God of Isaac and God of Jacob, blessed are you. Help me who am alone and have no help but you alone. Come and help me, an orphan. Save us from the hand of our enemies. Turn our mourning into gladness and our sorrows into wholeness. This is the prayer of Esther that we had in the first reading. Of course, the order to kill the Jewish people was reversed by the king, and it is instead the ill-willed plotters who are punished out of it. Have you ever felt powerless before some life's situation? Have you ever been in a situation where a grave issue was simply beyond your power, your influence, or your means? Have you ever been in this kind of space? The Lord encourages us in the gospel today that we should never be afraid to let our needs be known, express our powerlessness, or depend on Him for some kind of help. And the gospel repeats a similar message that ask and it will be given to you, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be opened to you. And which one of you would hand his son a stone when he asks for a loaf of bread? Those are words coming from the mouth of Jesus. Today we can also ask ourselves, is there perhaps a need that I deeply care about, yet I've never had the courage or even the consistency to bring it before the Lord? Is there a family member or a friend that I know with a need on whose behalf I can be able to petition God? May we in this Mass today, just as the disciples did, ask the Lord, Lord, teach us how to pray.